because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
Wow.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
For those of you who know us, who know me, you know I really, really do not like covering political content, politics. I really do my best to stay away from it. But there's a difference between leaning into it and running away from it. And I'm not going to be running away from it. This is crazy. I'm going to read for you, in case you missed it, I'm going to read for you what Vice President Kamala Harris said. Quote, "Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible." There are so many layers of problems in that statement. A profound misunderstanding, or perhaps just an outright denial of the Fourth Amendment, the Second Amendment, and the Constitution. And it goes so deep that we actually wind up running afoul of another document called the Magna Carta. In this video, we're going to be briefly unpacking that, and we'll be teaching you what you do and how to handle whether it's future President Harris's agents, ATF and cops, or whoever it is, whatever government agent might be showing up at your door to inspect your guns, to get into your house. We're giving you the quick crash course guide. So guys, let's get into it. So you get to a video like this, and honestly, the question is, where the heck do you even start? Let's just start with the Fourth Amendment, and I'm going to read it in case Vice President Harris has never dealt with it before. This could be a direct benefit to her. So, Fourth Amendment reads, quote, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." I'm going to presume she's never heard about that before, because I don't understand what your legal theory for entry is if you've heard of the Fourth Amendment. Because how can the government agents just stroll into your home, an ordinary person's home, that's locked? It's not like the wide door, the front door is open with a sign that says "come in." She was very clear about the sanctity of a law-abiding person, locked door, and we're going in. So what? Is she going to be proposing some sort of national secure storage law where every single firearm has to be kept unloaded or unloaded and in a safe, or with some sort of trigger guard on or trigger lock on, or maybe unloaded, safe, and ammo has to be stored in an entirely separate safe? And even if somehow, some way, that grotesque abomination, constitutionally speaking, of a law were to pass, how in the world do you just get to walk into someone's home to make sure that that's actually happening? Do government agents just stroll into any old person's home right now to make sure that, hey, I want to make sure that your prescriptions are kept in the prescription bottle because that's what the law says? Hey, I just want to make sure that, insert excuse here, your firearms are not in any reach of any children right now. If you think that that's the way the Constitution works, if you think that that's the way the law works, and if you've got the judgment to utter those words that we just heard, I'm going to play it for you one more time, because I am unfortunately not exaggerating.
Just because you legally possess a gun in the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible.
I don't really know what to say to you if you think you can just do this. I'm going to hit you with a quote. This one comes from Democratic President Franklin Delano Roosevelt upon his 1941 inaugural address. Quote, "The democratic aspiration is no mere recent phase in human history. It was written in the Magna Carta." Now, a lot of you may have heard about the Great Charter. The Magna Carta was done back in the year 1215 between some English barons, lords, and the King of England. It was really the start of constitutional history, at least the one that led up to America. It is a foundational document. And as you will see here in a moment, her understanding, Vice President Harris's understanding of how the law can work is so incredibly poor. It not only violates the Second Amendment, it not only violates the Fourth Amendment, it not only violates the United States Constitution, it violates the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta. That is where we are at. Violations of the Magna Carta in an effort to get firearms. But keep in mind, no one's coming for your guns, right? So in 1644, there was an English judge by the name of Sir Edward Coke, and he once said something like this, and you've probably heard it, quote, "For man's house is his castle." Now, not only is that a great quote that has been adopted throughout American and colonial common law history all the way up to the very recent United States Supreme Court rulings. So not only are we just throwing out a third of the branch of government, but that quote, according to Judge Coke back in the 1600s England, is actually built on the fact that you cannot issue warrants based on mere or bare suspicion alone. And that principle, if you think you can do that, which apparently Vice President Harris does, is in itself, according to this judge, and a lot of other people too, I'll add, is a violation of the Magna Carta. Be sure to stick around for how to handle the ATF and cops if they show up at your door. How do you deal with them? We've got plenty of other amazing content that covers all these sorts of things on this channel. So if you just caught us browsing through, we appreciate you staying with us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. Join the conversation below about what you think will come from all of this. Now back to the video. So there is this idea, this sentiment that an Englishman's home is his castle, which became very popular across the 1700s, both in England as well as in the colonies turning into the United States. There was a famous orator, William Pitt, who, railing against something called the Cider Bill in England back in 1763, told Parliament, quote, "The poorest man may, in his cottage, bid defiance to all the force of the crown. It may be frail, its roof may shake, the wind may blow through it, the storm may enter, but all his force dares not cross the threshold of the ruined tenement." This statement by the Vice President goes well beyond the scope of the Second Amendment. It is extreme and it is ruinous, because if you can do this to make sure that firearms are safe, what can you not do to the ordinary man or woman? What reasons can you go into a person's home on? If the cops or ATF show up at your door, here's your quick survival guide. We did a whole video on this, which we'll be linking in the description box below, also hopefully in the card at the top corner of your screen right now. But here's the very quick and dirty, that's a better version though. 1, unless they have a warrant, you are not even required to answer them. You are not required to go to the door. You are certainly not required to open the door. And in fact, opening the door and engaging in conversation both carry profound risks. If you do decide to answer them, I strongly suggest do not open the door. If you have a screen door, if you want to open the interior door but leave the screen door closed, not ideal, but you can do that. Understand that if you jump into the pit and you start having these conversations, you do not know where that will go. I'm saying this not only as a Second Amendment attorney, but also as a criminal defense attorney and former state prosecutor. You do not want to be having these conversations. Nothing good will come of these conversations. Just the same, if you insist on engaging with whoever this agent is that does show up at your door, I strongly suggest that you do it either through a screen door, or you can even talk to them through your own locked door. I would strongly suggest do not answer any questions, and be clear to ask, hey, whether or not that you are free to stop communicating, or are they detaining you in your own home, your apartment, your dwelling, or again, are you free to break off this conversation? No consent. Do not consent to any kind of entry or search of your premises. I would strongly suggest that you contact a lawyer. If you consent, no matter how illegal that search may have been, once you consent or someone with enough apparent authority apparent authority gives their consent. So you need to make sure that if you live with other people, it's not just you. Other people understand this playbook as well. And you get things like plain view doctrine, all sorts of other stuff, and things can really spiral downhill. It's also pretty difficult to get a cop out of your home once they're in. Just kind of a pro tip on that one. Now, if they do have a warrant, make it clear that you will neither resist or consent to any searches, okay? Keep in mind, raising a right to an attorney is superior than raising a right to silence. And also keep in mind, if you decide to talk and shoot your mouth off, it's not like, oh, well, a good attorney can make that go away. Yeah, maybe we or they can, but why take that risk? Don't consent, don't talk, don't answer questions. Then once they're gone, contact an attorney. Hopefully you got something out of this quick video for today. I'm going to close with our ever popular quote of the day. This one comes from noted thinker Frederick Douglass. Quote, "The problem is whether the American people have loyalty enough, honor enough, patriotism enough to live up to their own Constitution." Or maybe in some cases, you got to start with knowledge. You have to learn something about the Constitution, which, by the way, includes the Second and Fourth Amendment along with all the rest. That's a free piece of legal advice. Okay, there are amendments. They do count. The Constitution itself counts. The Magna Carta, it's still out there. I can't believe I have to say that. Be sure to click like. I look forward to reading the comments on this one. Keep them clean. Keep them patriotic. Keep them honorable and loyal to the Constitution. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.